I was reflecting as these comments came out, and you always learn something. Life is very rich for me, very rich. From my perspective, I have heaven on earth. I don't know if I'm a servant leader or not because I'm the least to judge it. But I can tell you it's a very, very rich journey. And I don't know when it ends. I know it's going to end. I don't know how many seeds I've planted. Somebody said one time, Peeper, you think you're worried about this and that. You got a whole forest and you can't even see it. And actually, that was in writing. So we're going to just go through. Wisconsin is a model in the world to be learned from. Not necessarily to be duplicated, to be learned from. It's all volunteer. When it's all volunteer, as soon as you're not doing something right, it falls off the table. People have choices. If it's passionate, just as you have talked about it here, it gets inculcated and people don't let go. Now, we don't want any evangelists. We want people who demonstrate. Well, why do you do it that way? Well, you go to one of the tenets. Well, I think it's important to empathize. It works real good with my wife. You know, whatever you're, I've only been married for 50 years, so I have a lot more experience. It's in every relationship, and if it's really important relationship, that's the place to start. And through that, other people will learn. The children that came to our house when we were raising our children all remember, thank you, Lord, is from my perspective is what I say, all remember the culture of our house. It didn't occur to me until they were adults and they said that. So you don't know, just do the right thing. Everything here has been a common theme. One thing I leave you with is, when you're giving, don't expect anything in return. Give people everything you have and don't expect anything in return. And the commitment that the other person gets, not by design, it just happens that way, is quite extraordinary. They never let go of it the rest of their life. You just heard an example. So we're going to go through what goes on in Wisconsin. I'm going to let Dan explain what goes on in Milwaukee. He's kind of our senior facilitator. He doesn't have that much gray hair, though.
Thank you. I am becoming that old guy. I'm owning up to it, so that's fine. My name is Dan Lococo, and I want to tell you a little bit about the roundtables we do in Milwaukee, because we do them every week of the year, with very rare exceptions, Thanksgiving being one of them. But they were born out of this gathering in the year 2000 and started in January 2001. Right now we have 5 different roundtables that go on. We tried to be accidentally strategic, if that's such a term, and it worked out quite well. We have a roundtable this Thursday in Mequon at Concordia University, which Mickey Wagner helps facilitate. The following week on the south side at Alverno College with Kim Minch. The next week we would have it at the Mad Rooster Cafe, except it's Thanksgiving. The first week of the month we have it in Waukesha, and December 12th we are going to have a roundtable at Grace Place Coffee, which I might even attend because now I can find it. Last time I got lost and was in the parking lot most of the day. But anyways, those roundtables are just people coming together. EJ kind of characterized the groups, a variety of people, different roles, different operational environments, different ages, all coming together, bringing their own experience. So each roundtable has its own personality, but they all have one common theme that resonates through them, and that is the wisdom is in the room. It is not a here, let me tell you what to think. We gather from the people around the table, and that conversation is totally unique to that group of people. And it turns out it's always a welcoming group. So, in the middle of your tables, you have sheets that have info on each of the workshops or each of the roundtables. Also, if you have a pencil, write on there s-l-milwaukee.com. s-l-milwaukee.com. That's our webpage. You can get connected to our email list, etc. What I'm going to do is get from Mary Ackerman all of the registrations from this. I will send you a note saying I'm going to put you on our mailing list. If you are opposed to that, just let me know. I'll drop you off. But then you'll get a reminder each week of where the roundtable is. And it's not spam. Just try and keep it to one message a week. And hopefully we will see you and we will enjoy your wisdom at a roundtable near you. So thank you all.
Thank you, Dan. Dan, it was Dan's idea to do that as to, so what do we do with this? And the feedback was, we love these roundtables, this discussion. So it'll range, the number of people at a meeting might be, the least I've ever been is 4, and the most I've been is 30. And there's maybe 150 to 200 people that regularly during the year attend these. Quite a variety of people that come. Fond du Lac, would you like to comment on Fond du Lac? We have Fond du Lac here.
Sure. Hi, as I said earlier, my name is Krista Williams. I'm with an organization called the Sophia Foundation, and we actually are a nonprofit organization in Fond du Lac, and we do a monthly meeting, similar to what they do here in Milwaukee, where the wisdom is in the room. We typically have a theme or a topic, and we'll have a guest presenter. And then we spend, it's an hour and a half, 7 in the morning till 8:30, the third Friday of every month. We meet intentionally at the Children's Museum in our community because, one, it has round tables, and it is a wonderful spot for opening our minds in creativity and ideas and energy. So we do that the third Friday of each month, 7 a.m. till 8:30. You can find information on our website as it's listed up there, fdlsophiafoundation.com. In addition, we do a community-based leadership learning program. So we meet together with about anywhere from 12 to 16 of our community members talking about servant leadership. And we do that in the spring and in the fall. And it's an opportunity for people to go a little bit more in depth in understanding some of the practices about servant leadership. And tomorrow we're going to be talking all about listening. So hopefully everybody comes with their listening ears and explore the importance of listening as a servant leader. And then the last thing that we do is we do a community-based conference in the spring. It's May 2nd this coming year. Mark was with us last year as one of our featured speakers, and that also is very much set up the same way as this, where we have a speaker speak for about 20 minutes, and then the attendants, the participants in the room, about 200, 250 people, talk about what are the takeaways and the lessons learned that they can apply from the messages. So it's not the expert in the room, it's the room, the wisdom in the room. So those are a few of the things we're doing in Fond du Lac. Thanks for the opportunity and sharing.
It's a Fond du Lac, I call, it's a community foundation. It's a foundation that is an advocate for servant leadership rather than a donor. Do we have somebody from the committee from Green Bay, De Pere? No? Green Bay has quarterly meetings, a lot of emails that go out, and they have a quarterly meeting, a big meeting, with a noted speaker, kind of a draw kind of speaker. And November 8th, tomorrow, Tom and I will be there participating in their citywide meeting. Madison has a monthly roundtable. It's very much more academic, I would say, but it's been going on for years. La Crosse, Tom?
We have a master's program in servant leadership at Viterbo University, and since that time now we've branched out and offer certificate programs, and we've been working with our Chamber of Commerce, which has really been wonderful, offering a certificate in servant leadership and allowing people to come and sign up. and we have people from all kinds of different businesses. Not everybody wants an academic degree, but wants more learning, and so in a very formalized way. One thing I would just share with you, I started this in a rural community of 750 people in Cashton, Wisconsin. In 2 years, we've had 70 people in the community go through servant leadership. That's 10% of the community. They've received a rural Wisconsin community health grant that they're working on for Thursday and Friday, and it came out of that work of our rural communities. And so for those of you who live in rural communities or work in rural communities, it is really significantly important that we help with leadership development in our rural communities. Here's just a little plug. I think the most important discussions in the next 10 years will not take place in Madison or Milwaukee. They'll be in rural Wisconsin. We're going to talk about land and water use. And where's the leadership in rural Wisconsin? And so wherever you have an opportunity as a business, Quick Trip, I think you have an opportunity because there's so many rural communities, you're a stabilizing force. We also have a roundtable once a month where we're doing a book discussion. We hold a summer conference as well as regular events promoting servant leadership in our community.
Thank you, Tom. Tom is my brother. We are kind of, if there was two guys could ride in the saddle, it would be us. Wausau, we have an evolving servant leader operation. They're looking for expanding the committee. We've had city meetings up there, and they're kind of reconstituting themselves. It does take effort. You've got to have the time during the month, I guess I would call it, some hours. We have a new website. Here it is. You've got the material in front of you. Don't forget to fill out the post-meeting reactions and tell us what you want more or less of. On that website, or on any email you get, you can take that and send it on to somebody else to suggest they get on the list. And a recommendation by a friend goes much, much further. How many of you are willing to do that in the next day? Send it on to a friend, somebody you thought of as you were sitting here. Well, 2/3 of you. Okay, how about the other third? Are you willing to This is the way it works. There's no advertising. In fact, if we went out and advertised servant leadership, we would end up with the problem that Tom alerted us to. It is an in thing. Now, moving over to, we have 90 videos. I misquoted. We have 90 videos out there that you can grab, send to somebody else, use it in a meeting. They're 3 minutes to half hour. None of them, I don't think, are any longer than that, right? Yeah. And these great video photographers, this is a champion video photographer we got here. And he is into it. He's into it. He likes what we do. And so he really does great work in that area. Go look at some of the videos. He captures it. He takes this, takes it back to the office, and in his spare time he puts it together, fires it back out, we edit it, and that's it. And it's on YouTube. So we have a whole history of this. Now, moving to the world. The state of the world. You know, I said something at the beginning of the meeting, and Tom says, you ought to say it again. It's worth repeating. And that is, we are in a very, very wonderful time in history. At this moment. It may not feel that way. It may not feel that way. And I certainly am no different than anybody else in the community with the rhetoric and the tearing down of other people that has gone on, and it's a proven way of getting elected. Now you can do it too much, and then they go to a third candidate. You do it just right, and if you do a better job at tearing down the other person than the other person does, you might win. But what a premise to start a job on. So I will tell you, in the world, right now, there are 150 billionaires that said they're going to give more than half of their estate back to the world to do good. There's two of these 150. That's Microsoft. That guy, what's his name? Bill Gates. Yeah, that's it. I'm a heavy-duty dyslexic. Bill Gates, who's going to give 95%, and then Warren Buffett said he's going to give 99% back to the community. We have surplus food in the world. We do have starving people. The Facebook fellow said he's going to take $1 billion, he's committed publicly, to go out and eliminate all the diseases in the world. $1 billion. That's his commitment. That's a young guy. Those are not bad people. Their hearts are in the right place. The combination of those folks, forget about the last one I mentioned, because that might mess up this number. $500 billion is already committed to making this a better world. There are people who are in need. By serving others, we realize and discover ourselves. It's a wonderful, wonderful journey. It never ends. I guess maybe it does, but maybe it doesn't. I don't know. There is a termination point for our walking around. But that journey is rich. It rubs off on everybody around you. All the people really important in your life, it rubs off on. So we have the people in need. We have surplus resources, excess food in the world. But in between are some folks that are corruption, what I call the black side folks. And the goodness just hasn't overwhelmed them enough. They'll always be there as a practical matter. But no time in the history of the world have we had so few killings, deaths, 70 years almost now, without a continental war. Never in the history of the world. We have a 10, 12-year war going on in the Middle East, and there are thousands of people that die, but not millions. That is just an extraordinary time and place in history, a great place for our children, in my case, grandchildren, just a wonderful future. What we're doing here today is a part of that journey. It's a calling beyond ourselves. And keep that as you leave and as you chat with other people. It's a great, great place to be. In Africa, 10 years ago, 23% of the girls went to school. Today, 83% do. 10 years ago to today, 1 billion more people on this earth of 7 billion have clean water that didn't have it. 1993, 2011, the most current figures from the World Bank, 1 billion people came out of poverty. That's the time that we've been living here. It's extraordinary. Spread the message. Get your information down. Incorporate it in what you're talking about. Share it with your students, with your friends, your neighbors. So, in all of that, we have the Greenleaf Center. And the Greenleaf Center is kind of a meeting place for this in the world. Very, very small staff. They don't have a bunch of money, but they got a powerful piece of information. And this comes from that guy, Robert Greenleaf, who didn't want to call it the Greenleaf Center. It's not an unusual thing, an author like this, or a leader like this. But they ended up calling it that. He wanted to call it Applied Ethics. Applied Ethics. He didn't want it to be associated with a religion. He was very explicit about that. Is that a signal we should be paying attention to?
No.
No? It's okay, okay. You got to pay attention to these signals, you know. My hearing hasn't quite gotten that bad yet. But they have a scholars program where they bring together pre- and post-doc students, and they write about servant leadership, vetted papers. They're going to be publishing a book in about another year or more, putting all of this together with some pretty powerful people who have published in servant leadership. Starting in 1985 to just a few years ago, there was a fellow that wrote about leadership. Leadership is relatively new, 40 years old. He wrote about leadership. And in that leadership, he said, moral context doesn't belong. That's got nothing to do with leadership. A fellow at the University of Illinois wrote a paper about 4 or 5 years ago on a world basis, was accepted, and debunked the whole thing. And so now everybody is saying, well, what should we be teaching? And so that question is being processed. And servant leadership is coming on very strong. Again, watch out using the word versus the action. They have a, what do we call that now? The certification. They have Greenleaf Center now has a certification program for They have a word for it, and I'm missing it. Best test, that's it. And consultants are being trained on how to go into institutions and figure out what they're missing as a way of transposing the information to be able to help institutions. About every 3 months, they're having a best test. They limit it to 6 people who are intending to be consultants, but I'm not intending to be a consultant, but I'm going because I want to stay current, understand what they're doing. 0.6 seconds, I Googled servant leadership, and I came up with 3,460,000 articles. That's a lot. I Googled Wisconsin, and in 0.37 seconds, 150,000. It's not dead at all. I can tell you 10 years ago, there was definitely a hit came back. It was something far less than 10% of those numbers. So, closing. Students, assist to servant leader chairs. All of you who are here today, the presenters, which did a splendid job, thank you, ladies, gentlemen, our chair, who was very much, gave us the hospitality. It's been a very, very rich journey. Please fill out your post-meeting reactions. Get on the email list if you're not there. Send it to a friend, please. That's the only method of moving this information around. Have a good day.